This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by DigitalOcean and by Ting. Go to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device or your first month of service. Welcome to the Linux Action Show, episode 336 on a Monday. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To you.
Yeah.
Well,
I almost said morning.
I know. It is a little awkward.
Yeah.
How about to just shake it off? We'll tell the folks about the big show. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
Well, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, we traveled to Columbus, Ohio to visit LinuxFest, No, not LinuxFest.
Oh,
Northwest. No, that's a different Linux Fest. Actually, we visited Ohio LinuxFest 2014. We saw a whole bunch of people. We walked away with some great interviews and some great stories. I'll share those with you in today's episode. Actually, we've got even more for future episodes, too. It's so much good stuff. Also, we've got like our picks we always have, but the news this week is quite interesting. Some major stuff is happening with the openSUSE project. There's some great news for us Oculus Rift users, and a little bit of controversy between the Ubuntu project and the OwnCloud project, and I have the inside scoop. I'll tell you directly from the source what's going on. We'll talk about that. Plus, in the feedback segment, we have a poll on future content of the Linux Action Show, a major warning for you ButterFS users, and a couple other things, so stay tuned for that. But Matt, let's start with our picks.
All right.
And this one's great. Sent in by Linux PCMR just a couple of days ago, and check this one. Now, we got to do a little detective work, but behind the scenes, Lord of War runs Linux. This is, so this is something Blizzard's been working on, and some folks have actually confirmed that this is indeed Linux, but I think we can confirm it right here on the show. So let's begin, Matt. Watch closely. It happens quick, and in fact, I think one time they even tried to obscure the fact that it's Linux.
Oh, did they really?
Let's do some detective work. So I'll hit play here. Here's the editor for the game.
All right.
Mute. All right, so look right here. So look, are you seeing the GNOME toolbar that I'm seeing?
Oh yeah, it's right there.
And down here, there's their multiple desktops. So that definitely looks like
GNOME 2. It does kind of have a GNOME 2 matey look.
Yeah, I think it's
I think it is GNOME 2.
All right, so there's the mouse.
It's always really exciting to see them.
Okay, here we go. There's our best shot.
Yeah, that's got to be.
So what icon is that up there? I can't quite.
Is it a foot? Is it something else? Yeah.
No, it looks like a flower or a shell. I can't quite see it. They've got Terminator for their terminal. One of their node applications, Thunderbird, the terminal application, Firefox, Calculator. They also got XEyes, which is great.
XEyes is like, why would you have that on your
okay, so you see they're blurring out the title here, extensions for Autodesk Maya 2014. So this is Maya 2014 that we're looking at here from Blizzard, where they're working on the game art. Let's keep playing.
Their take on the painting and how it ends up coming out in the end.
Okay, we got one more really good UI shot right here.
They have just been totally...
All right, now look at this one. So you can see that he's got Thunderbird open down there in Firefox, but you notice how they blurred out the bar?
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if they were just trying to blur out the titling.
I think so, right?
And they just kind of went overboard, maybe?
So some people are speculating they were trying to obscure the fact that it's Linux, but I don't think
I don't think they were, because they would have done a better job of it initially.
They're knocking it out of the park with the motion, and it just looks fantastic. So I'm really excited to see what comes up.
Look at that. That's what he was working on.
Holy crap.
That's pretty neat.
That's very cool.
So Blizzard Entertainment for designing Lord of War.
And it was kind of cool to see how they got the CPU and the memory all mixed out in the little
system monitor,
meter.
Just like I'm using right there.
I know. I was gonna say but it was just like green and blue, just solid.
So it's let's see. They say now I don't know where Jim Random knows this because
Okay.
You decide how much you want to trust somebody that has random in his handle. But he says they run Linux everywhere except for on their customers' machines. Of course, let's not bring up the fact that it's a reliable source of the company that said there'd be a big Linux game by the end of 2013.
Can't speak to the latter half, but I think there is certain logic into the initial point that he made as far as running it. Look at cost of licensing and all that. If Maya runs on the machine and it does the job, it seems like it would be obvious to me.
Popey in the chat room is speculating that it is terminal services. I want to look at that again. Let's take another look.
Motion story guys do with the paintings.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you'd run Maya through a terminal server. No, look at that. That's real-time 3D.
And then you look at your usage at the top there. I mean, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm wrong.
Linux terminal services is pretty badass, but to do a 3D Maya,
and why would you at that point, right? I mean, what would be your benefit?
Look, he's got a fish tank in his office and a sword. This guy
if he has a fish tank and a sword, he's running Linux. I mean, that's a given. That solves the argument right there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You don't get to have a fish tank and a sword and have Windows or to have OS 10. No, you have to be running Linux.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I used to have a fish tank, and now I'm probably going to have a fish tank.
And I have a
again
sword
one
at
day.
home, so see.
We just confirmed it. I think that's factual, Matt. I think you just did
mine's
that.
a pirate sword, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, best kind of sword, Matt.
Best kind.
Hey, I got some app picks for you. I got a spotlight that might finally get me off Google Docs. We're going to spotlight that project in just a minute. But first, I got to tell you about DigitalOcean. Head over to DigitalOcean.com right now, and why not rock this promo code last October while October lasts.
What?
Last October, LAS October, one word, lowercase, while October lasts. You know, with a T.
No spaces, no caps.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know
Last
what you're talking
October,
about.
it's a promo code. It's going to get you a $10 credit on DigitalOcean services. Why would you want a $10 credit on DigitalOcean services? Well, that is a great answer, my friend, or a good question, and I've got a great answer. DigitalOcean is a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up a cloud server. And you're like, oh, Chris, that sounds fancy. But what does it really mean? Man, you are asking so many good questions right now. You can spin up a cloud server in less than 55 seconds. And pricing plans start at only $5 per month. We'll get you 512 megabytes of RAM, 20 gigabyte SSD, one CPU, and a terabyte of transfer. A terabyte of transfer for $5 a month!
Oh, my God.
And DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Fran, Singapore, Amsterdam, and London. Their interface is cray-cray simple. It is super intuitive, and power users can replicate that dashboard with their straightforward API. Yo, you got a script you want to integrate your droplet creation to? Sure, you could do that. You got something in Ruby? Yeah, you could do that. You got Chef, Puppet? Yes, you can do that. But why would you? Because then you wouldn't get to look at that gorgeous, beautiful DigitalOcean dashboard where you can spin up a KVM virtual machine living on top of an SSD drive connected to Tier 1 bandwidth that you have root access to. You can do backups, snapshots, transfers, DNS management. You get HTML5 console access. And when I was traveling, it was reassuring to know that my OwnCloud instance was up on a DigitalOcean droplet. So I knew that as I traveled, no matter what network I was on, I would have a secure connection to my OwnCloud instance. And it turns out, as a major go figure, while we were traveling, there was some stormy weather here in the Pacific Northwest. Mm-hmm. And my power went out at my house. And my home server, which is a NUC, did not turn back on.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
I would have been so screwed if that's... And what are the chances? Like,
right?
our power never goes out. I never travel.
Right.
Like,
yeah, right?
Right?
It's like, what are the odds?
So I would have been... My phone would have been such a piece of crap if I didn't have my own... Because all of my stuff syncs to OwnCloud now. That's where... I guess it probably would have had a local, but meeting all these people, I wouldn't have been able to update my cloud contacts.
Exactly.
But because I had it up on a DigitalOcean droplet, I still had access to it the entire time. And it was super fast, too. And here's the best part. You might already be a DigitalOcean customer, too, so you're really going to appreciate this. Their community tutorials are top-notch, and they're getting even better because DigitalOcean is willing to pay up to 200 bones if you can write for them. And they got editors you can work with. So if you got a topic that you're an expert on, go over to DigitalOcean, contact them, work with their editors, and write it up. You can earn up to $200. For submitting it. You can find more on their community site. We'll also have a link in the show notes. You can earn up to $200 writing for DigitalOcean.
200 bones.
And also use that promo code last October. Hey, let's rock October. Let's show DigitalOcean that you still appreciate them supporting Linux Action Show last October. And best part is if you forget to use it, because I was just telling the story earlier today. When I spun up my first DigitalOcean droplet, I'm such a geek for UI that is super awesome but yet powerful and is doing something which I used to do as a server admin that would take hours. Provisioning multiple servers in data centers all over the world in less than a minute was so awesome to me when I was experiencing that the first time that I actually forgot to apply the promo code. My own stinking promo code.
God.
Right?
Oh, no.
So here's the cool thing about DigitalOcean, though. You can just go into your account, you apply the promo code to your account, and they'll credit that to you. Last October, if you forget to use it, go in there. And October's only got a few days left, so you can still go in there last October, get advantage of that $10 credit, and use that $5 droplet for 2 months.
2 months.
Absolutely free. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Linux Action.
Woo!
I want to talk about the command line. We haven't done a command line pick for a couple episodes, yeah. I can't even remember. Yeah. And this one came across when I was thinking of a new way to take notes. Memo. It is a note-taking application on the command line. Now, it is not really available in many package repositories from what I could tell this morning.
Yeah.
But it is a command line, Unix-style note-taking software, and it's written in C99. It's very flexible, and it works well. And there's even a way to get it to work with Procmail, so you can email yourself notes. So if you're on the go, which is I was thinking kind of fancy, like put this on a droplet, you're on the go, I email myself something. I'm showing the UI right here because I'm on an Ubuntu box and I didn't feel like building it from source before the show. But you can just go grab it. It's just a simple tar.gz to download and build. And then you have Memo, and Memo is the command line. And then there's a series of commands you provide to Memo to either create the memo, access a memo, update a memo, delete a memo, manage memos, etc., etc. But you can really just all on one command. You can write yourself. Just the beauty part is, like for me, like I've always got Wake available, right?
Yeah. So you just pound that out.
Yeah. Boom. I just boom. Memo, -s, and then or whatever it is, or dash whatever the creation is, and I start, today I really want to eat ice cream, right? And then you could put that into your memo file.
Oh, totally. Dear diary, blah 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 blah.
Or remember to make bacon.
Well, yeah,
because got to have that.
You got to have the reminder because you may know you want bacon, but you may not know about the timing and the perfect. Yeah. Exactly.
So there you go. You see what I'm saying? It's a neat, quick way to keep your... And there's lots of options here, right? You could just... hell, at the end of the day, you could just have Vim open in Quake. But I like this for the organization. The timestamps is all just right there. And they're all indexed by a number, so you can call them up real quickly. Oops. The URL's a little cray-cray, so I'll have a link in the show notes. Don't know why I keep saying cray-cray. Probably because I just got back from a trip.
Cray-cray. But yeah, the titling is, that's all good stuff.
Okay. Let's talk about an open source project that may finally free me from the grips of Google Docs. Because, Matt, Google Docs,
it's a love-hate thing.
See, I had very little time to work on the show today because I just got back from Ohio, and we do our show notes in Google Docs because one thing it's really good at is collaborative editing, like super good at collaborative editing. And so that way Matt and I can work on the show notes from our homes or from the office or whatever, and then we get here on Sunday typically, and everything's been put together. That's invaluable. Being able, and also like when a producer needs to work on a show, I just loop them in on that, and they've got it's awesome. The problem is, like today, it was down. And I had like 2 hours to put the whole show together, and I needed access to Google Docs, so I ended up working out of a text document. And I just thought to myself, I really prefer working in text because I don't have like Google trying to automatically format stuff or indenting bullet points, and it's just quicker and cleaner. But the problem is there's really not a great way to do collaborative text editing that I found. There's Etherpad and Gobi,
but just aren't quite there. Yeah,
and not really universally accessible to just about anyone. However, that might change. I don't know if this is going to be able to do what I want, but I'm going to look into it. Rikai recommended this because he was kind of sniffing around to solve this problem for us, and it's a project we've given mention to in some other like overall reviews and overviews, but never really focused in on the show. So we might even do a review of this in a couple weeks to see if it could solve my Google Docs problem. It's called SparkleShare. So it's not just about collaborative editing, but it's more about collaborative file syncing and things like that. Version control, you host it yourself, it has client-side encryption, and it's free and open source. So these are all things I like quite a bit. It's called, again, SparkleShare. It's available for Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. And here's what they say, and I like this too, Matt. SparkleShare was made to cover certain use cases, but it doesn't handle every scenario very well. They're just putting that right up there up front.
Okay, so they're being clear with you.
Gotta respect that, right?
Yeah.
So they say, to help you decide if SparkleShare is right for you, here's a few examples of what it does well and what it doesn't do so well.
All right.
So here's what it's great at. And this sounds exactly like our use cases. Frequently changing project files like text, Office documents, and images.
Right. That sounds good.
Tracking and syncing files edited by multiple people.
Nice.
That sounds good too. Reverting a file to any point in history.
Okay. That's
Preventing
important.
spying on your files by using client-side encryption. Here's what it's not so great at. Full computer backups. Don't need that.
Of course. Yeah.
Storing your photo or music collection. Don't need that.
Yeah.
Large binary files that change often, like video editing projects. Don't need that either. We won't store our video editing projects in a sync.
No.
And then they got the instructions how you set up your own host, and then you use the Dazzle command to make a project folder. I
think my favorite part is the fact that Dazzle is your command. Like that right there is just awesome.
I guess the idea of SparkleShare sprouted at the GNOME Usability Hackfest in London, where a couple of designers came to the conclusion they didn't have a good open source collaboration tool to share their work. So that's where it started from. I'm going to take a look at SparkleShare.
I think it looks cool, and it sounds like they're kind of having fun with the whole sparkle and the
looks
dazzle.
Like,
and,
yeah. It looks
cool.
like the last release was April 2014.
Okay. That's not bad.
I might go check their GitHub page. Let's go. They have they have a GitHub page. We can go check them out. 28 days ago, I see a commit. Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go, and hopefully they're still working. It might just be they're having a good spot. So SparkleShare, and the URL for that is sparkleshare.org, and we'll have a link in the show nizzles as always.
Sounds good.
Yes, Matt. I think
I like it.
I already know what we're doing next week. I'll tell you guys later if I remember. So I don't think you'll see a review super soon, but you might, if I get it installed soon enough, you might just see something from us. So
good stuff.
And if you've tried out SparkleShare, we'd love to hear your experiences. You can leave us feedback in the Linux Action Show subreddit, linuxactionshow.reddit.com. And then you'll see a feedback thread for episode 336 of The Big Show. All right, Matt, let's do the news.
It's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Lass.ting.com. Let's go there right now, won't you? Everybody, lass.ting.com. Let's do it together. It's kind of like a group activity. And why? Why would you? Because it's Ting. And Ting is mobile that makes sense. It's my mobile service provider. It's Matt's mobile service provider.
Right.
I got, you know what I got? Right here.
Got yourself a little phone.
I
see what you did.
I got a little travel muck on it. Sorry about that.
Well, you had quite
I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little
bit of dust, a little bit of road dirt,
But this right here is the Nexus 5. Matt's got the Note 2. These are two great devices. Many other great devices available on Ting. I'll tell you about a few of them in just a minute. But first, I'll tell you about Ting. It's mobile that makes sense. No contract, no early termination fee, but the best part, you only pay for what you use. It's a flat $6 per line. As many devices as you want, and then it's just $6. I got three. I got 3 devices. It's $6. My previous carrier, and I'm not essing, $40 a line. $40 a line. Ting is $6 a line, and it's just your usage on top of that. Ting takes your minutes, your messages, your megabytes. They add that up at the end of the month. This has been so helpful for me. This has saved me a ton of money. I'm almost on my 2-year mark right now, and you can find out how much money you would save by going to last.ting.com, clicking that savings calculator. Ting's got a other bunch of great advantages, too. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, they have an incredible dashboard that you can take advantage of, but they also have no-hold customer support. This is great for me. So if I have a problem, I use the dashboard, and it's awesome. They just updated it. If my mom has a problem, she calls in, and it works. Both are excellent. If you call between 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., a real person answers the phone. They don't transfer you. They're immediately empowered to solve your problems, and they can answer any questions you might have. You can also go to help.ting.com, and they have a great community over there where people are trying out things like Sailfish OS, Firefox OS, and things like that. Ting has built-in caller ID, tethering, hotspot, all right on the plan. If you turn on hotspot, you don't have to have some special family share data plan. No. It's just your usage.
You just do it.
It's just your usage, man.
Done running.
You want to use Ting as a mobile ISP? You do it. They don't care.
They don't care.
You want to only use Wi-Fi calling? Do it. They don't care. They honey badger
Hell,
about
they'll not only encourage you, they will show you how to.
They do. They do. And one of the great things about Ting is they are smartphone enthusiasts, and as such, they're here once again back with a weekly app pick. Woo. Kyra, what you got?
Looking for pointless fun whenever you're on the go? I'm Kyra, and this is Ting's App of the Week.
Woo! Oh, nice.
Goat Simulator, the latest craze to hit the gaming world, has gone mobile. It's simultaneously the best and worst game on the App Store right now. You're a malicious goat, whose primary goal is to wreak havoc on everything around you. If you're looking for a plot-driven linear game, turn back now.
Okay.
Gain points by headbutting cars,
Hilarious.
jumping on trampolines, licking things, and destroying anything in your path.
Oh, it's just like
you can
the real
fast forward
game.
time and switch between different mutations.
They
like a
moved it
spider
over.
goat, penguin, and jetpack goat.
Look at that.
All with special powers.
Yeah,
Jetpack
that's
goat.
The more
exactly the same.
challenges you complete, the more goats you unlock. With unpredictable physics and hilarious glitches, you'll be laughing out loud at the game's absurdity. Goat Simulator isn't going to help you plan your next meal, pick up the kids, or manage your finances. But if you're looking for unadulterated sandbox madness, Goat Simulator is the app for you. Available on both Android and iOS, you can pick it up for only $4.99 right now. For more app reviews, make sure to subscribe to Ting.
Unadulterated sandbox. What did she say? Fun? Something.
Well,
that's
it's crazy, 'cause-
that was a great line. I want to play that again.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Kyra.
Both
that
Android and iOS, you
Hold
can
on.
pick it up to help you plan your next meal, pick up the kids, or manage your finances. But if you're looking for unadulterated sandbox madness,
That's pretty accurate,
That's
actually.
a great line. That's exactly
what it is.
So you've played Goat Simulator
Oh,
on
I
the
played the
machine.
hell out of it. I always like to get the rocket pack with Devil Goat, and then I usually take a couple people along for a tongue ride up in the air and sling them around stuff.
Now, dude, now you can play it on your Note too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Also, like I mentioned, Ting's got the Nexus 5, $349, no contract. You own that device. Ting's not making you subsidize that, and that's really long-term. Not only is there an incredible savings there, but you get more value out of these devices because you have no incentive to get rid of them. You're not forced into these upgrades. You can continue to use them because it's only $6 a line. Make an old phone a hotspot when you're ready to get your next phone because it's yours. You own it.
That's right.
It's a great way to go. Last.ting.com, and a huge thank you to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show.
Well, the cool thing about having Ting phones as well is that there's a great marketplace out there to where it's like, I'm ready to upgrade. I don't necessarily want to hang on to this. You can, in fact, sell that
they will help
and
you
then
do
apply
that.
those funds.
Very much so.
Yes.
All right, Matt, let's talk about openSUSE. Tumbleweed and Factory are merging with the release of openSUSE 13.2, which is scheduled for November 4th, by the way. Two of the openSUSE projects, Tumbleweed and Factory rolling releases, will be merging and offered as a single openSUSE rolling release under the new name Tumbleweed, which is not a new name, but it'll be the name to represent both of them.
Okay.
So we got 7 days until this happens. Factory will remain the name of the development process where openSUSE's new development, all that work, is brought together. That's where it's tested. User-ready rolling releases, assuming the name, will start with November 4th. Pretty exciting. Technical details for the existing Factory and Tumbleweed users will be published closer to November 4th, so we'll get more information about this. And they'll explain what steps need to be carried out to smoothly migrate, for those of you that are already doing one of the rolling releases, to this new combined rolling release.
And I think that's the key thing, is by having a list of things to watch out for and know what's coming about. That way you're not going into it blind and being like, oh my gosh, I just borked my entire system.
I think I'm really excited that openSUSE is taking this on. And the thing that I like about openSUSE's rolling release model is that not only is it different than anybody else's, but I think it makes a ton of sense. And I'm really interested to see where the openSUSE build service and rolling releases can kind of, like, how they can coexist and how that will work together. I think next episode of Linux Action Show will be our openSUSE 13.2 review, so be sure you tune in next week for that. I'm really looking forward to giving it a go. And I right now, I just got back, so I'll probably load it up tonight or tomorrow night to kick the tires for a while. The main thing I'm looking to is, what's their GNOME 3.14 implementation like?
Right.
I'm curious about that.
What kind of experience is that providing?
Because there's not a lot of ways to really get a solid GNOME 3.14 implementation right now. Fedora's still a little bit ways out. Arch has got it, but you got to roll your own, right? So if you want to get something out of the box with GNOME 3.14, that's probably been traditionally, openSUSE does a pretty good job of setting that up. I think it could be a pretty compelling desktop, and I suspect, I don't know, I think a lot of people are going to download it because of that.
I think so, because in the past, you think Fedora, you always thought Fedora. You think GNOME, you think Fedora, right?
Yeah. A lot of times when I think openSUSE, I think KDE.
Yeah, I do. Oh, that because they always nailed KDE.
But
this is a whole
they've
other
been
animal.
doing some posts about what they've done with GNOME 3.14 and stuff. I'm kind of thinking that's the way to go.
It might be.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, I'll definitely at least check a few desktops out, but I think the one I'll primarily run will be GNOME 3.14. Looking forward to November 4th for the new release.
Good stuff.
Matt, it has finally arrived.
Oh, my goodness.
Here it is, but it's still a little dusty because I haven't used it in so damn long. Oculus Rift.
Yes.
The SDK for the Rift is now officially out for Linux. And not only is it out, but, what are the chances? I'm still on my Ubuntu 14.10 Mate install that we reviewed. I am pretty damn lucky that I'm still running that because right now their script assumes you have apt, and it goes out and gets a whole ton of dependencies, and then you build their software. And I've seen some people are talking about how to do this on Arch. I don't know how you would do it on Arch, to be honest with you.
I don't know. Yeah. It could be done, but it sounds like it'd be a lot of work.
So what we're looking at right here is this is what you'd see if you had the Oculus Rift on. In fact, let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger for you guys. I think it's kind of it's about as big as it's going to get. But that's what you see on the computer when somebody's playing the Oculus Rift. It's not what it looks like at all when you're wearing the Rift, but this is what people see from their perspective if they're watching your computer monitor. And this would be if I had the Oculus hooked up. I don't right now, so that way I can connect to the to the video switcher. But I'm going to try this after the show. I think we are go for Oculus Rift DK2 on Linux, my friend. It is here, and it is amazing. In fact, I've already seen a port of Quake for Linux.
Oh man, that'd be
Quake
kind of cool.
There's like a specific Quake for VR project out there. They already have a release out for Oculus on Linux. In fact, I've seen a few threads about games that are working on Oculus support under Linux specifically now. There's also a Steam game out that's a scuba diving game that's available for Linux.
That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
And there is also actually a NASA-backed space simulator game that is available for Linux that also works with Oculus support.
You think about space in the Oculus Rift. I mean, instantly my brain goes to like, how do you not have a panic mode? Like that feeling of, okay, I'm in space, I can't. You know what I mean? Like your brain just totally goes to. Oh, I don't know.
It's funny too when they made the announcement for a version 0.4.3 of the Oculus DK2 SDK. Just a bullet point right here. Bullet point: experimental Linux support. See the README.
Yeah,
and that's it. After months of lying to your customers.
Yeah,
that's
and of course, let's compare that bullet point to your, I don't know, when you were raising funds.
Yeah.
Just saying, it was a little more bullet point then.
Hey, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Ubuntu, OMG Ubuntu ran a survey of their audience, and the results are in. I'll have a link if you want to read all of them. I just wanted to read a couple. So one was interesting. It looks like LTSs are quite popular amongst users, not too surprising, rated often the best.
That generally makes sense.
Opinions, thoughts, and words about Ubuntu. You ready for this?
Oh, boy. Okay.
30% of respondents say that Ubuntu is, quote-unquote, innovative. 47% consider Ubuntu to be well-supported. 20% fear that it's losing its way. 28% think that it's stylish. 27% find it fast. And just 7% think it's slow. Where should development focus be? 50% said gaming and driver improvements.
Sure.
38% said new themes and icons. 34% said support for newer hardware. 34% also said Unity and desktop shell. 22% said interactive notifications, no kidding. And 21% said better multimedia experience. As far as desktop environments go, this is not too surprising. Unity, 63% of respondents. The number 2 desktop, GNOME. Ubuntu GNOME also is the most popular flavor, followed by Xubuntu, then Kubuntu, which I'm sure Ubuntu Mate will be showing up on there soon.
Interesting.
Scroll mishap. So anyways, I find this whole thing to be fairly interesting. I if nothing else, am quite impressed by the graphical treatment.
Yeah, they did a nice job there. And
really nice job.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, though, there's so much emphasis on the themes and things like that, because that's stuff you can do yourself. So for them to, I don't know. Maybe
to ask for development time, that is a little silly, isn't it?
I mean, a little polish, okay. I mean, there's some like behind-the-scenes polish. That's fine.
Let's have the developers spend their time on more infrastructure code and improvements there, and let's let community worry about themes and stuff. All right.
And I'm shaking my finger at the community on that one.
So while we're talking about Ubuntu and Canonical, let's talk about this little bit of controversy that brewed this week where an OwnCloud security officer contacted Canonical representatives and asked them to remove Ubuntu from the software repository. Did you hear about this at all?
Yeah, I did. Bits and pieces. I mean, just from what I'm understanding, the whole thing sounds ridiculous.
And it's really kind of, it's one of these things where... it's unfortunately kind of gets a life of its own, and the community kind of jumps in and makes it more out of than it really is. I had a chance to talk with Frank. We've had him on the show multiple times, founder of OwnCloud, right? And I said, Frank, I didn't get him on camera because I didn't want him to feel like he couldn't say anything. And I'm not going to reveal our entire conversation, but it basically the gist came down to, he's like, yeah, there was miscommunications on both sides. Security officer kind of maybe said a few things, but really he says the core issue is actually a legitimate problem. And here's what it is. And it's, if you think about it, this is not an OwnCloud problem. This is in any upstream project that is outside the distribution problem, and any of these distributions that have long-term multi-year support where the packages stay in the repository for multiple years. And I believe, if I recall, and I might be getting this wrong, but I believe Frank referred to Debian Stable and said right now on Debian Stable, if you app-get install OwnCloud, it pulls down version 4 of OwnCloud. Version 6 is out. Version 4 is not only no longer supported, but it is known to have critical security flaws.
Yeah, no, okay, now that definitely makes some sense.
That makes so here's two things that immediately happen. Number one, people are installing buggy software that has security problems. Not good.
No.
Number two, even if security patches are backported, before I get to number two, even if security patches are backported, how do you know that they're valid? Whose word do you take? If somebody else is taking the OwnCloud code that's old and they're fixing it and then putting that in the repository, How do you know to trust that
Exactly.
person? Can you trust that?
How's
How do you
that been
verify
vetted?
that?
How's that been vetted?
Right. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is from the OwnCloud's perspective. Not only does it make them look bad because it's not their best foot forward, so that's not great for them, but they're also then getting support requests for OwnCloud 4, and when they say, sorry, that hasn't been supported for multiple years, their response is, I just installed it from my distribution. And it causes this constant influx of bug reports and support requests, not to mention it's just bad branding, too, for these projects. And so this is something the OwnCloud project has been struggling with, but it doesn't necessarily only apply to them. It would be any upstream project that gets popular like this.
Right.
So this is where this essentially came from was, hey guys, how about you take it out of your repository or something to this effect, because what we want to do is we want everybody to use the repositories that are generated automatically by the openSUSE build service. These right here generate repositories you can put in your app sources that are maintained by the OwnCloud project upstream that get you the updates. Is there a way, and I think this is where the dialogue needs to go, is there a way to make a package that sets this up and then pulls it from that or something like that? And right now, according to Web Update, OwnCloud Ubuntu package is affected by multiple critical security issues, and there's nobody to fix it. Now, they have an update here that says Jonathan Riddle has updated OwnCloud from Ubuntu 14.04 and 12.04 in the Universe repository with empty packages that point to the openSUSE build service and Juju. The packages are currently awaiting approval.
Well, that actually might be one way to solve the problem.
I think so.
Because it kind of eliminates the entire argument and just saying, okay, here, look, just done. You know?
And you know what was fascinating is Frank and I got into this conversation about, he says, well, what we really need is a way to sort of slice the operating system into layers, so that way, we have this more, and this is something that have to happen at the distribution level, where we can keep these certain layers more rolling. But when things interact with PHP and MySQL and all this underlying stuff, it's a lot of moving pieces. And it's part of this broader conversation that we've been talking about. How do you universally install software on Linux? How do you universally update that? How do you respond things to Heartbleed and Shellshock in a timely manner, but not risk taking something offline and breaking it? And it's interesting to see how this problem that we've all been talking about is affecting a pretty popular open source project like OwnCloud.
It definitely, sets the tone. Yeah, and I think it also sets an example of why this is so important. Rather than, ending up watching something escalate into a blame fest, I mean, to find some way of meeting in the middle and finding a solution that works for everyone involved.
Yep, I agree. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. Looks like the Linux Action Show hoodie has relaunched again.
Was this like
so the way that works is it's a limited time run unless enough of you go back to Teespring and say, no, I'd still buy one. And if enough of you do, and it's a different threshold. I think it's sometimes it's like 15. It's another, I don't know what it is right now. I don't know what it is because there's 0 remaining. But it looks like if you were at Ohio LinuxFest and you saw all those hoodies walking around, or you didn't get a chance to order one, if you go to teespring.com/jbjacket, you can get the last fall jacket again. This is almost getting to the point where I'm almost thinking we just need like a persistent store. See, the way Teespring works is it's print on demand, so it keeps our costs a lot lower, which is great.
So apparently the logo style, dimensions, and the fact you got a zipper hoodie is paying off.
And I'm wearing mine right now, too.
Oh, yeah.
See, look at this. Look at
there it is. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And
it's a great-looking sweatshirt.
I got my Arch Assault shirt underneath.
Nice.
And my Ohio LinuxFest badge right there.
Kind of gives you the Superman thing.
This was essentially my setup for Ohio LinuxFest. Anyways, teespring.com/jbjacket if you still want to get a Linux Action Show fall jacket. It's crazy. Man. I don't know. I don't know why.
It's going to start getting weird when we get into summer.
Yeah, I know, right? I think all the colors are still available. I think
it looks that way.
The threshold has been met too, so I think you can go get one.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, at first I thought maybe it was on the cusp, but I think it did. It went over the edge.
I'll tell you what, it's super comfortable. It's a really great jacket.
Good deal.
I wore it the entire time in Ohio too. All right, Matt. That's all the news for this week. I just got back from Columbus, Ohio to attend Ohio LinuxFest 2014. Met so many great people. I'll tell you all about that towards the end of the segment. But first, we got to get to some interviews. There was great interviews with some folks I want to play for you. But first, number one job we got to do is say thank you to System76, sponsor of this right here segment.
Woo!
Go over to System76.com and get yourself something nice. Tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. And look at some of the rigs they've got over there for you. Laptops built to run Ubuntu. Come right out of the factory with 14.10, ready to go with System76 custom work right on there to make sure it's the most pleasant experience possible. And their custom work extends to any model. Different models have different work done by System 76. Every model has something they tweak to make it even better for Linux.
That's right. Custom BIOS.
It's an awesome experience, and it really pays off. Like for me, I've got the Bonobes right here. You can see it in the overhead shot. And one of the things I love about the Bonobes is the hardware controls here are the backlighting controls. I don't know if you can tell. I'm cycling through the colors on the keyboard. That's all hardware based. The brightness is all hardware based. I can turn the brightness up. I can turn it down. That's all hardware based. None of it depends on the BIOS.
Exactly.
None of it depends on any drivers.
Yeah, there's no driver
software. It might be BIOS control, but I never have to worry about if I don't have Ubuntu installed, I don't have to have some driver package. It works across all distros, across all operating systems.
You could be running PCBSD and it would still work.
That's very true. That's very true. I don't know why you would do that though, Matt. So I like green most of the time or blue, but you can change the colors. Right. And they've made sure that some of the video components in here work perfectly with Linux, but they also have a bunch of really great desktops too. And another thing about System 76 is you're voting with your wallet. You're buying into the Linux ecosystem, and I think that's critical. They're a part of the community. They reach out to the community. They work with educators. They work with schools to make sure they get Linux out there. They do advocacy on the behalf of Linux. So your money's not only going towards a vendor who wants to support Linux and see Linux grow, but is also going to a member of the Linux community. Go over to system76.com. Stop fighting with your hardware and play with your Linux. Get yourself something nice and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. So many great machines, so many great desktops, and even servers to check out. System76.com. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff.
Still love the Bonobes. They're just one of the best laptops ever on the face of the earth.
Ish.
All right, so Ohio LinuxFest 2014 ran on October 24th through the 26th. We flew in. We got there on Friday. We left on Sunday. Great show. I'll tell you I'll give you my meta overview of the fest, and maybe if you'd want to consider going next year in a minute. But why don't we start out with some of our interviews? We haven't talked about a Haiku in a very long time. In fact,
we really haven't.
No, I think it's been since it was called the Computer Action Show, really, that we talked about Haiku. So it's high time we talk to one of our open source brethren. So it's just a quick interview. It'll be our first one. We talk with one of the maintainers of Haiku.
You may have seen the XKCD comic where the guy calls into a support center and they're told to look for the start button, and he tells them that there is no start button because he's running Haiku. Well, it so happens I ran into Joe from the that's running Haiku, and you're part of the actual project?
Yes, I'm part of the project. I'm one of the maintainers of the project. So
outstanding. So I know absolutely nothing about Haiku. So as a 5-year-old, explain to me what Haiku is and what maybe the target audience might be.
As a 5-year-old, okay. Well, if you're our 5-year-old who's really advanced and is familiar with what an operating system is, Haiku is an open source OS. It's not based off of Linux at all, but we use our own custom kernel. And basically, the focus is on the desktop experience for users, like responsiveness and just a great, unified user experience. So, lots of, either usual applications or web browser or IRC, just basically get things done without a lot getting in your way. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so looking at the desktop, I mean, I guess it kind of reminds me of Linux. Are there similar design elements as far as how I would interact with it?
Yeah, there's some similar elements, but the main focus was basically copy what the BOS look and feel was, because it's an open source re-implementation of BOS, and that project, kind of died in 2001, so Haiku took over to, so people could still basically keep using their beloved BOS. So, but yeah, a lot of those, same design elements to some degree with Linux, but yeah.
Sure.
But basically our own custom kind of, windowing kit and everything. So.
Now, what kind of hardware compatibility am I looking at? If I were to go install it on the laptop I buy at Best Buy, is that going to work out of the box, or is that something I'm going to have to kind of work at?
It may or may not work. Like, I usually buy my systems knowing exactly what our hardware support is, and so like the System 76 here, it works on, and
nice.
Everything works out of the box pretty much. And
good old System 76. So if I buy System 76, in addition to full Linux support, now they also have full Haiku support, huh?
Yeah. I admit I did have to swap out the network card and the wireless card, but for an older version. But because basically we rely on the FreeBSD, we use that for our networking. So basically we have a compatibility layer. So anything FreeBSD supports, like network-wise, we support. So.
Outstanding. If somebody was interested in getting getting involved in the Haiku project, or maybe just wanted to download an ISO and try and install it, where would they go?
Just go to our website, haiku-os.org, and you can download it nightly. I suggest to check it out, and we'll probably have a new release, hopefully in a few months here, so that people can check out like an official release. So.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking time to speak with us, Joe. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Noah.
You know what I was almost thinking is maybe we should do like a Mumble Room community review on Unplugged with Haiku again, just to visit it.
That might be fun.
Yeah, and it's neat that the System 76 rigs make that work. So that's Haiku, and if you're an old BOS fan or BIOS fan, it's totes worth checking out. It looks really cool. So ThinkPenguin was a hardware vendor that was there, and ThinkPenguin is super excited about their wireless access point they're working on, so we had a chance to talk to them.
So coming around the table, we ran into Chris from ThinkPenguin, and of course, you might remember Chris from Southeast Linux Fest. It seems like more and more people at Ohio Linux Fest we have talked to and met at Southeast Linux Fest, but that's okay because they have a whole new table full of toys, and I'm sure Chris has some interesting things that ThinkPenguin continues to work on. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit first about this. This MP3 player.
Okay, so that is basically an OGG and FLAC audio player, and it supports Rockbox, which is a freer. It's a freer software embedded distribution of sorts for audio players.
Okay, so the primary purpose of the project is that it can be flashed onto existing hardware that you may have. But you guys, if you weren't particularly geeky, you guys actually do that for them.
Yeah, so we ship with Rockbox on the audio player. It's actually manufactured by SanDisk, I believe. SanDisk? I think it's SanDisk. And basically, it's not something that's still being manufactured, but we have a lot of. What we do is we stock it and we refurbish it, and so it ships with Rockbox from us, so you can still get it. It's one of the most popular players ever that has had Rockbox support.
And you said that the people that buy it absolutely love it. I mean, it's gone over really, really well with the people that have purchased it, right?
Well, I think you heard. I think you heard 2 minutes ago from somebody who was saying that.
Yeah. Everyone that walks by the table seems to really think about it or think highly of it. Now, I noticed that you have the wireless router over there. Is that actually gone into production, so to speak?
Yes, it is. We have stock, and it is available on our website. We actually just changed revisions, but it's the same board inside. Basically, it's the first 100% free software-friendly router distribution that is running on it, and it's the only router that will work with that distribution. We were involved in freeing the code for it so that it would be 100% free software-friendly.
Sure. Now, is that something that, like, one of the things I always like about more Linux-based hardware is the fact that I can do more and more from the terminal. Can I make some configuration changes from like Telnet or SSH, or it's all web-based?
Yeah, you can definitely connect to it with SSH. Okay. I'm not the developer of it. We actually, the developer works for us, but but yeah, basically you can it's libertycmc.org, and you go to that website and you can contribute to the project. Submit patches if you want, if that's what your experience level is.
Kind of neat, and we'll have links to those in the show notes too if you guys want to check those out.
Sound pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like that. I like having a little portable FLAC OGG player. That's a great idea.
A little lossless audio.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that we talked about on Unplugged quite a bit is getting a younger generation involved with Linux and open source, because in a world where everything is on tablets and phones and locked down to app stores, it's kind of hard to get people excited about open source. And so Noah had a chance to talk to the Ohio University Open Source Club. Pretty cool. Let's take a listen.
So we're here at Ohio Linux Fest 2014, walking around, and I saw this table. Now, I am a proud and happy graduate of the University of North Dakota. I thought they did a great job. I was always really proud of my school. Today, I met somebody that makes me wish I kind of would have went to Ohio University, and that's because they have an open source club. Isn't that right?
That's correct. So at the Ohio State University, we have an open source club here, and basically it's amazing. We have 50, 60 people every single week coming out, talking open source, doing any kind of tech talk. Basically, what happens when you get 50 geeks in a room every single week with food? What happens? Really cool stuff, right? Really awesome stuff. Because basically, when you have somebody, it's just like, oh, hey, I'm working on this project, what's this? Or hey, I have a job out here. Suddenly, it's like that. So easy, and in a university setting. So at Ohio State, we have 1,000 computer science majors. this is amazing. So it's a really good time. I always recommend everybody check out our website at opensource.osu.edu. So, and that.
Now, tell me, you made an interesting comment to me, and I kind of wanted to get a little bit more information about it. You said something to the effect of how you can tell you're at a real Linux conference.
Oh, man. How many ThinkPads are there? Every single time. So, hey, all you have to do, look at a machine and be like, hey, what distro are you running? If you hear, oh, yeah, I'm running Debian, or hey, I'm running Ubuntu, you're like, all right, this is a good place. Here we are. As opposed to, I'm not trying to hate on the MacBook crowd. I'm really not. But every single time I'm coming out to a LinuxCon or anything like this, and I'm just like, oh, there's MacBooks everywhere.
That's true.
Every time, right? So it's
LinuxCon and OSCon, that's what it was. I mean, every computer I saw is is one of those. So it is truly refreshing to be back in more the grassroots and community stuff.
Yeah, and that's the great part about bringing on students, because we are grassroots. We're at the one stage where I can use this laptop every day and never have to use a Windows machine. Period. That's incredible. Not just because like, oh, whatever, hate on Windows, but like, that's really cool. I'm surrounded by free and open source software every day, and we get a bunch of people who are doing that exact same thing. So, really like that.
That's outstanding. Now, for anyone that is attending Ohio State University or is maybe thinking about attending Ohio State, where can they get more information to join the open source club?
All you have to do, you can go to the Ohio Union website or go to opensource.osu.edu. Check us out. You can look at all of our past meetings since 2006. We've actually been a registered student organization since 2001. So we've been around for a very long time. You can look at all of our past meetings, what we're doing, and until then, you can see us at Caldwell Lab every single Thursday. So.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Chris, for your time. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't that awesome?
That was amazing.
And I love the enthusiasm, too. That's really
he's
cool.
really pumped, And I love the fact that it's like old school 2001. I mean, that says something right there.
So definitely, we had the whole crew. Well, not the whole crew, but we had a great crew down at Ohio LinuxFest. And one of the guys that they were most excited to talk to was Jeremy from Southeast LinuxFest. And also, he was working with a software-defined radio project. Looks really cool, and if nothing else, the display that Noah's sitting next to is worth the interview alone. Jeremy is a super fun guy. I got to talk to him a little bit. He's a real practical joker too. He's quite funny, and so Noah had a chance to talk to him.
So we're here at Ohio Linux on the floor, walking around, and who do we run into first? Jeremy from the Southeast LinuxFest, who took such good care of us when we were out there doing broadcasting in North Carolina. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
Not too bad, given how early it is.
Yeah, it is a little bit early. The coffee, once the coffee gets down to about the bottom level, then, get your injection going. So, as a ham radio operator, I am, of course, always interested in radio technology, and I notice here that you have this really cool, you call it software-defined radio, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a radio where only the absolute minimum is done in hardware, which gives you the flexibility to do a lot more in software. Hardware is expensive, software is cheap.
Right. So to give a comparison, the last radio that I bought that doesn't have nearly the frequency spread, and granted, it's a transceiver, this is just a receiver, but...
No, it transceives.
It does?
Very low output power, because it's drawing data and power off micro USB to whatever computer you're plugging into, so it's totally QRP, way under 5 watts, but that's why you have a linear amp with bandpass filters, so it's as powerful as you have a linear amp for.
That's unbelievable. That's impressive, because I would have assumed it was just a receiver. You see, that makes the price point even better. So tell me how much this, first of all, tell me what the frequency spread is.
So the spec frequencies are 10 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, and that's spec. If you look online, Scott Osmond, I want to say, the guy who designed it, talks about his testing when he was verifying it. It dips below 10 megahertz. It dips into RFID range, and you can hit some harmonics all the way up into like 9, 10 gigahertz. So it can 10 megahertz to 6 gigahertz is official. It can go even beyond that.
That's outstanding. And tell me a little bit about the software that's running. So is this something I'd be able to use on Linux?
Yes. What you're looking at is a let's make it far less painful GUI front end for GNU Radio. Because GNU Radio, I felt smart, and then I opened GNU Radio, and I realized I was actually really dumb. What you're looking at is GQRX, and it's basically a let's make it easier for GNU Radio. It allows you to more easily listen to traditional audio broadcasts. As you can see there, you just dial in the megahertz and dump it to an audio sync, and you're good.
But I can dial that frequency to anything I want. So if I wanted to look at maybe a Wi-Fi network, I could dial in 2.4 gigahertz, 2.1, somewhere in there, right?
You can totally do that.
That's outstanding. Now, what distro is this running?
Gen 2.
Okay, all right. So you are a masochist.
Well, when it comes to self, I'm totally lead masochist. Gen 2 is pain on the front end and bliss on the back end.
Sounds good. And tell me a little bit more about the Southeast Linux Fest. That was, having been to a number of Linux conventions this year, I can safely say without a doubt that was my favorite one. You guys took amazing care of us. Yeah, totally a pat on the back for the hockey player. You guys took great care of us, and compared to the quality of presenters and stuff like that, I mean, it was just off the charts. If somebody was interested in Southeast Linux Fest, where could they get more information? How could they sign up to attend?
So the best recommendation I can give you is totally go to our website and sign up for Self-Announce. It's a new mailing list I created after last year, and it's going to be a low-traffic announce mailing list. Think of it as like a FOSS project list where they only tell you new releases and security updates. You may get 6 emails a year. It'll be like RFPs open, we've announced the dates in the venue, and we've released the videos. It'll only be the important stuff.
Outstanding. And how about those videos from last year? I can find those online, I heard.
Eventually, yes. So college football season started, and my day job is my college sports website. So that ate a lot of time. And plus, my own self-imposed mandate is no proprietary software may touch the videos, which means I'm really stinking good at FFmpeg on command line, but I'm also really stinking slow because I have to take a rough ballpark guess where I think I need to adjust it and then run it through FFmpeg. And if I was wrong, it's time for a full re-encode. I'm sure there's a better way, but I'm not talented enough for it.
You know what? I can totally get behind that thought mentality. 100%. You get nothing but mad props, and if it takes you 6 years to release the videos, totally worth it. Totally worth it from my perspective. Anything else you want to add, Jeremy?
That's it. Come to Self.
Sounds good.
Now,
Nice.
What you don't see is the hard time Noah gave me, quote unquote, off camera that I was supposed to edit out about. So you know what? I've been playing with the new version of Lightworks, by the way. It's still not great, but
it's still kind of
it's quite good. It's quite
brailing
good.
through.
The problem is the codec that we use here.
Oh yes.
All right. So it was great to talk to Jeremy, and sounds like the guys love Self, and they had a great booth at Ohio LinuxFest.
I'll tell you, that whole radio setup was just awesome.
I know. We'll have a link to that software in the show notes. That is definitely one of the number one things that I don't know anything about that I wish I knew a lot more about, because it also seems like a really sweet spot with Linux and open source.
Oh, it would be, yeah. No, I've investigated getting my hand on it.
That would be a great hobby. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have even more interviews that I just didn't have time to get to today. In fact, one of the ones I know a lot of you are looking forward to is an interview with Ken Moore. He's the creator of the Lumia desktop, which is on PCBSD right now. The BSD Now guys have talked about it. And he's also the brother of Chris Moore, the creator of PCBSD. Noah got a really great long interview where he walked Noah through many aspects of the brand new Qt-based Lumia desktop. And because we want to show you the UI as he talks about it, I'm going to give that a little extra editing, and that'll probably be in Tuesday's Linux Unplugged.
Nice.
I think so. If you're PCBSD curious or curious about that new Lumia desktop, keep an eye out for that. We'll have it soon. We've also got some other stuff coming from Siegel, which we'll talk about soon a little more. But we got one more interview for today's show from Ohio LinuxFest, and it's Scott from Red Hat. And after the interview, I had a great 20-25 minute conversation with him about some of the really incredible things that Red Hat's working on to help solve this problem of software patching and all of that. So I'll talk a little bit about that after the interview, but I'm going to save most of it. I want to get him on the show. But here's how Noah's chat with Scott went.
So no Linux conference. I can't leave a Linux conference anyway without stopping at the Red Hat booth. And we ran into Scott here from Red Hat. How is it going today, Scott?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. So Red Hat has been and continues to be one of my absolute favorite companies. Tell me a little bit about what Red Hat is up to these days.
Okay. Well, Red Hat just released Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, about a month ago. Satellite 6 is out, which is pretty exciting. Also a huge change. I mean, we're expanding into like a bazillion different things. If you look here, we have OpenShift, OpenStack. The JBoss stuff is growing like crazy. So the Java world. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah. Now I just got done installing Red Hat 7. I was trained in 6.5, and I installed 7, and I was pleased to see that there's enough change to keep it modern and current and fix the problems that needed to be fixed. At the same time, you haven't sacrificed on stability, and you've kept enough that people that are working in that enterprise corporate world that need to know how to get the job done can still function on 7. Can you tell me a little bit about how that really? Because I mean, you heavily modified GNOME 3.
Yeah, well, so I would say the biggest change is like coming from Red Hat 6, from the 6.x, has been adding of systemd, firewall D, using network manager instead of the scripts, and I mean, there's an immense amount of update. It's probably the biggest update we've had, I would argue, since '98, back before it was even Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So I mean, just in one atomic change, between a major version.
Yeah, no, and I'd used Red Hat. And then I had switched to Fedora when they did the split, and I've been a happy Fedora user on my computer ever since, and a happy Red Hat user on the server side ever since.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, same thing with me basically.
Yeah. And then as a side note, I noticed that they have now switched from the T20 to the they went from the T20 to the T30 and now to the T420 or 440. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and now it's a Lenovo box too instead of an IBM box. But I like it. I think it's a good laptop. Actually, it's the best one I've had.
Yeah. And so if you want something that runs on Linux, apparently, if Red Hat is buying so many of them, apparently they're probably a pretty good choice.
Yeah, and interestingly, when it boots up, it will say that the chipset in this is technically not certified, but it works. And obviously, we have thousands of these running, Linux at our, so I mean, yeah, this thing works pretty good.
Outstanding. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us. If somebody wanted to find out more about Red Hat or the Fedora project, where would they head out to?
Well, I mean, the best place is going to be, www.redhat.com, and there's a ton of information there. But I mean, beyond that, I'll make a plug for like developerblog.redhat.com is a really cool little blog that I participate in that's part of Red Hat. And then RHELblog's another good one, RHELblog.redhat.com. They're almost a little bit more community focused, even though it's still for the Red Hat stuff. But it's more like a bunch of technical people from Red Hat will contribute there. So everything from product managers, solution architects, consultants, technical account managers. So a large amount from the technical community will participate there. It's not marketing stuff; it's more real technical stuff. So
we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Absolutely, thank you.
So after that interview, it was funny. To Noah's credit, too, like during that interview, somebody went up and picked up his Google Glass and started to walk away with it.
Oh, did they really?
And Noah's like, he's trying to like,
oh my God.
So, but it was cool. The guy brought it back. He was just checking it out. People are freaking amazed by Google Glass. So I talked to that guy at Red Hat. He says he runs Red Hat Enterprise Linux on that ThinkPad, which is pretty funny. And he says sometimes it takes some work. He also mentioned a lot of the Red Hat developers now do a lot of their development inside Docker containers. So he thinks Docker is going to have a continued big influence on Red Hat. He says Red Hat's going to want to get closer and closer and closer to Docker, if you know what I mean, perhaps.
I think so. I think there is a pinnacle there.
If you look at Red Hat's public finance information, you'll also note that they recently have sold about $800 million in bonds. So they're trying to raise a whole bunch of money.
Oh, wow.
So they're super focused on Docker, and they're raising a whole bunch of money.
Put those two things together for the pinnacle.
So we may see something come out of that in the future. He also talked about Project Atomic a little bit and how they're working on making updates super smooth, about how their K-patch technology will work in with all of that. Great stuff. That we're going to try to get Scott on the show and just dig into more of that. So, Matt, I brought you back some swag.
Oh, right on.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah, let's check this
so
out.
we got to start with, first of all, this is actually from Self, but I got it at Ohio LinuxFest for you. An Arch Assault shirt for you, Matt. There you go.
Yes. Awesome.
Also,
cool.
you got to get your official last jacket. Here you go,
Oh,
Matt.
my God.
There it is.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
Brought that back for you, Matt. Very nice.
Right on.
And last but not least,
Yes.
I had to get you, even though you weren't there, you get an Ohio LinuxFest sticker.
Oh, right on.
And a nice, now this is, you got to hand these out, a nice stack of Jupiter Broadcasting American flag stickers. Boom.
Oh, sweet.
Vinyl stickers
Good
for you.
deal. Oh,
and
right on.
people missed you, Matt. They missed you. But I think, we got in, we got out, we got a whole bunch of stuff. So Ohio LinuxFest itself, what I really have to compare it to in recent memory would be LinuxFest Northwest, OSCon, and a few other events I've been to. I would say it's definitely not as big as LinuxFest Northwest or OSCon.
Okay, because LinuxFest Northwest is pretty big. OSCon is it's big, but it seems it's different because it's spread out. It's very But
I think where Ohio LinuxFest has the leg up is the size is really good for actually connecting with people and having time to talk to them, and they've obviously focused a lot on the sessions. Lots of really popular sessions. Definitely one of those times where there was 1 or 2 sessions going on at the same time that I was picky and choosy between, which is always a good sign. It means there's a lot of good, compelling content.
Sure.
I watched the Docker talk that was massively well attended. It sounds like a lot of the talks were really well attended. And they even had, sounded like some really successful lightning rounds where folks could get 5 minutes. They go sign up, put their name on the list. They go up and get 5 minutes to talk. And it sounded like some really cool stuff was talked about. Met, I don't know, 300 to 400 people. And I'm just saying, it looked like maybe about half the people there were wearing some Jupiter Broadcasting swag.
So awesome.
It was really awesome. So it was a great event, and people were really cool. A lot of locals came out to say hi, so it was great to meet everyone. In fact, I do have a few photos from the trip. Maybe I'll share a few of those with you guys.
Yeah.
And we'll try to stock everything we've been talking about as much as possible in the show notes. The chat room's been rocking with the link. So of course I had to start out and get one of those. That's the shadow of our airplane. I just
That's
thought that was
cool.
Isn't that a neat shot?
That is neat.
And Ange and I on the airplane there flying out. Ange got the window seat once, and I got the window seat once. That's what the badge looks like. I'm still wearing my badge too.
That's a really cool badge, actually. That's one of the best ones I've seen.
I know,
ever.
right?
I've been to a lot of events. It's actually the best badge I've ever seen.
There we are. Of course, IX Systems was there handing out.
You got the blinky horns.
The classic blinky horns. So I've
been trying to figure out what's the Linux equivalent for that. I mean, do you have little tux beaks? Maybe?
Yeah, right. I know. We need to come up with
something.
That.
I don't know.
We had such a great crew. Q5Sys drove up, even though his truck broke down on the way. He had a brake line go out on him. They had to pull over and fix a brake line on the road. He drove up. He was essential with getting some of the camera work done. Wow. Of course, Noah was there doing the interviews, supplying a ton of the equipment, really kind of making all of the bits and pieces come together. Everything down to booking the hotel rooms. Blaster was there rocking, protecting of the gear and interacting with some of the folks from the community there. And, of course, Angela was there managing all of the swag, making all of the contacts happen, keeping everybody up to date. It all turned out exceedingly well. Excellent. Such a great crew. A huge thank you to everyone. And while we were doing all of this, producer Eric was at Siegel. He'll join us on Linux Unplugged tomorrow, I hope. I think he should be there. And we'll play some of his interviews from Siegel, which was happening at the same time Ohio LinuxFest was going on.
Good
so it was a lot of stuff going on. Nice. There's Blaster and Ange. We talked Noah into trying to go down.
Did you actually get him? I could see. If you dare him, I bet he will.
Before he went down, he's like, "Here, take my Google Glass. These are too expensive to try this with." He had it off the Google Glass.
The head injury can be dealt with, but I don't want to recommend it.
And one of the best swag items, Linode handed out this device that it's a USB charger with every type of connector: your standard USB, micro mini USB, Lightning, and 30-pin adapter. But they didn't need the Lightning or 30-pin adapter at Ohio Linux Fest, so the guys broke out a knife and just cut off the iPhone connectors. They figured they'd help it with the freedom a little bit.
Symbolic.
Yeah, and there's a great shot of Jeremy rocking his Reddit jersey.
That's good.
There's the self booth. You can see the software-defined radio there a little bit. This is fascinating and also extremely worrying to me. So you're familiar with Chef? It's a management platform to manage a bunch of servers. They're working on something called Kitchen.
Oh.
The sole purpose of Kitchen is to make managing Linux servers from Macs easier, because they're getting so much demand from sysadmins that are on Macs that are managing Linux boxes that they're now developing products just to answer.
So they've got to adapt to that desire.
I do not like that. I do not like that because I would like to see those people running Linux on the desktop. But it was still a good project. Noah showed us some interesting techniques like have you heard of the masturbating straw?
That sounds like a Noah thing.
It was definitely a Noah thing. Silicon Mechanics got my award for the best booth. Silicon Mechanics is always at a lot of these things.
Oh, yeah, they're
Not
awesome.
only were they handing out Nerf weaponry, which is great at a fest, but if you see there, they have a mat. They were the only guys that brought a mat. It's an interconnected puzzle mat, and they even have a ramp, a rim, so that way you step up into it and you don't trip as you get in. Then, on top of that, they had a swag giveaway, and they had a green bucket there with more ammo for the Nerf guns they were giving away in case you lost.
They really kicked it up.
Yeah, they even gave away a Nerf vest, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a great shot that Angela got there. There's Randy, a great viewer that we met. We met so many great people. We had breakfast with Randy. It was great. And so many people came and said hi.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a great event. I think if you have a chance to go to it next year, I definitely recommend it. I think it's I'm not 100% locked in that we're going next year, but it's I think it's almost a sure thing.
Definitely.
And it was neat to see Ohio, too. I'd never really been there before, so it was a good opportunity to meet a new... And there's a... We'll end on there. That's producer Q5Sys from his best side, the backside.
I like the Ocean's 11 black and white you showed earlier. That was very cool.
Yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
That needs a theme song, and just like,
yeah.
you know.
It was a great crew.
Cool.
The guys really made it all happen.
Yeah.
And Ohio LinuxFest, it was a good size. It wasn't too big.
Right.
It wasn't too massive. They had great talks, good presenters. I really enjoyed it. If you're on the East Coast, it seems like an almost a foregone conclusion that you should go, I think.
Absolutely.
If you're not on the East Coast, there's other fests going on, but it's one to consider for sure. I would love to see System 76 have a presence at some of these conferences. That would be really cool. They could show off some of the stuff and make their case, because I think once you use a System 76 rig, you get a better idea, and so that would be really cool.
Well, at the very least, I'd say, you know, Linux Fest Northwest especially, just based on, if they're looking at it mathematically, you're really missing out by not being there.
I mean, we brought our rigs, but yeah. So the crew was really great and accommodating at Ohio Linux Fest too, and we had a lot of gear we had to move around. They gave us rooms to put it in. It all turned out really well. Yeah, it all turned out really well. So it's a good conference, and it's really good to connect with people too. We'll talk more about it on Linux Unplugged as well as Siegel. We'll get some of the crew's impressions and things like that. So we'll have a little more coverage in Linux Unplugged next week. But Matt,
yes,
that's the Linux Action Show's look at Ohio Linux Fest 2014. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But, Matt, before we get out of here, we got some emails to get to. And last week we tried something new. We tried a sponsored email from DuckDuckHack.com, and they had great results, and you guys seem to really dig it too. So we brought them back. We're going to keep talking about DuckDuckHack for a little bit because it's pretty exciting. I think a lot of you know how I feel about Google's dominance in search, their market leader position.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have often felt like there's not a lot we can individually do to fix that. And it's not that Google's so awful that they must be knocked down a notch. It's just that having competitive search is good for every person on the internet. And the fact is now there's a way we can bring additional privacy and open source to searching. DuckDuckGo is famous for the search engine that you can trust. They don't track you. Now they've launched DuckDuckHack, and they're looking to juice up some of the results in the DuckDuckGo search by leveraging what you guys know about, what you're experts in. DuckDuckHack is an open source instant answer platform by DuckDuckGo, and they know that folks in the Jupiter Broadcasting audience are experts on a lot of topics. You can submit an instant answer to DuckDuckGo's search results, and something that maybe you're passionate about, something you want to help spread the knowledge about, maybe to help other people find relevant info. You can go right into DuckDuckHack.com, submit a pull request you don't have to be a developer either, and get an answer, and they'll work with you to make it work. I got a couple of examples. Somebody submitted a really simple, this is just a really straightforward example.
Really good.
A stopwatch. You go to DuckDuckGo, you type stopwatch, and now you have one immediately. That's just kind of handy.
And it's like visually appealing.
And
it
here's
doesn't look like crap. It looks really good.
Right, so I could time that and do lap. Here's another one that's really good for my unfiltered search. Not only do I get a little paranoid about what I'm searching about, so I like DuckDuckGo's privacy, but you can type in somebody's name, like Obama, space news, and then DuckDuckGo will go out and find all of the recent news events about that search term. So in this case, it's Obama when I search. So it's like search term space news, so Obama space news. That's an instant answer that somebody submitted. That's open source too. You can go out there and get the code behind that. Go over there and check it out. Here's another one. Bang, so exclamation mark, JB. In the DuckDuckGo search. And then put your search term in there. And when you hit search, it'll go search the Jupiter Broadcasting website and pull up all of the episodes. So it looks like the last time we mentioned openSUSE was in last 333, so a few weeks ago. And then again, and we mentioned again in 332 and episode 58 of Linux Unplugged.
I love the fact that it goes directly to the site in question. That is super cool.
This is something that somebody submitted to DuckDuckHack.com, and now it is a command modifier at DuckDuckGo. You do bang, exclamation mark, JB.
Easy to remember, too.
And then the term you want, and you can search the Jupiter Broadcasting website from DuckDuckGo.
I like it.
This is why the instant answer platform is so awesome, because there could be many sites. There are systems like this at DuckDuckGo to search the Arch package repository, to search Stack Exchange, right? Stack Exchange is another. If you're a system admin or somebody out there working on projects, that's invaluable. There's so many great things, but yet there's so many more that I know our audience could submit. So go to DuckDuckHack.com. DuckDuckHack.com and go submit your pull request. They'll work with you, and you can help make search more open and more private, and really maybe move the needle just a little bit in the search engine game.
I like it. I love that. I'm going to be trying that. I want to get it home.
Yeah, it's they have.
There you are, huh?
They also have. You can search. Yeah, you can search there. They also have some examples and projects where people are like, "Hey, I got this great idea, but I could use a little help or some suggestions." So there's some good collaboration opportunities there too. All right, so another email, and the next email that came into the show, it was a suggestion for the show, Matt. It came from Not Seeking Karma. He says, we need to talk more about servers, containers, and clouds. Discuss more Linux stuff outside the desktop and gaming. He says systemd is working wellish now, so we can talk about that. Docker 1.2, OpenStack Juno, Unity 8, all of those things. He says the R Linux and Linux Action Show communities appear to have limited themselves to individual use cases. And he gives some other examples, but I wanted to wonder. His question got me wondering, should we talk more about the server-side things in Linux? It's obviously one of Linux's strong suits, so I put together a poll.
Oh, there you go.
strawpoll.me/2873086. strawpoll.me/2873086. And by O, I mean 0. I don't know why I said
Maybe we can put that link in the chat room as well.
It is in the chat room. You guys can vote now, and it'll also be embedded in the show notes and linked in the show notes. Let's see. In fact, I submitted to the chat room just a few minutes ago. So right now, it looks like more frequently is fine, just not too much.
Right.
It's followed by yes, no coming in third.
So I think no has kind of left the building, but I think that the happy sweet spot is maybe, enough to keep it interesting.
Imacon just reposted the link in the chat room. Guys, go vote right now and let us know what you think. If you have a strong feeling, let us know. I mean, you know me. I am a long-time sysadmin, so there's always server stuff I can talk about.
Sure.
I scratch that itch pretty well in TechSnap. TechSnap, though, has more of a security focus. It's not necessarily Linux-focused at all.
Right.
It's maybe
less about solving the problem, more about, hey, watch out for,
and an analysis, sort of as the term goes in the business, postmortem, and also a lot of FreeBSD too. There's a lot of stuff to talk about server side, and we could keep it, some consumer stuff and more high end stuff too. But it's always something we could explore more. Right now, my current approach is to sort of sprinkle it in from time to time.
Right, make it educational, make it worth hearing about.
We could step it up. Yeah, we could step it up a bit. So go vote. strawpoll.me/2873086. And let us know what you think, and it's also linked in the show notes.
Good stuff.
This one blew my socks off. Next message comes in from Easy Zone. He submitted it to the subreddit. Windows 10 includes a Linux-style package manager named OneGit.
Oh, my God.
Can you believe this?
I want to say I'm surprised, but
OneGit is open source. In fact, it's even up on GitHub.
Oh, God.
They say they post bleeding-edge experimental builds often, always. They have active community input for design ideas. Anyone can participate. The package provider can provide their own default repository, so it could be anyone, really. There's no word yet on feed discovery. Huh. It's command line. The PowerShell, PowerShell is getting more and more powerful on Windows. OneGit will be exposing APIs to talk to the package providers, so it's entirely possible to build a standalone command line tools that just use the APIs to make things even easier. So you could see some third-party tools around this. This is pretty. What do you think of this? What do you think, Matt, about Windows 10 getting its own package manager?
I've seen various, there's even GUI apps years ago, Windows XP era. People have tried similar things in the past with Windows. Usually it was kind of like a meh kind of experience. Most of them were done with freeware.
But this one is a Microsoft-backed and created one, right?
And this goes back to, and for Microsoft, I think this goes back to that we love Linux mentality that we've been seeing recently from them. And I think that they're trying to blur lines a little bit. I think they're going further than just containers and things like that. I think they're actually trying to rethink their desktop experience overall.
Is it just me, though, or does Windows 10 almost feel like a Linux ripoff? You got virtual
it's a big Linux ripoff.
Yeah, right.
Huge, huge.
Even like down to the comp is like effects for the Windows. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think it's great to try something. Finally, try something different, if you want to call it that. But it's just kind of like
I mean, I guess it's good for Windows users. Welcome to the party on one more thing, Windows.
Yeah, I mean, they watched Mac copyists for so long. I think they finally said, "Hey,
why didn't they do this like 5 years ago? Why didn't they do this with I don't know."
It starts with a B and it ends with an Almer. Yeah, that'd be why.
I think you might be right about that.
Yep.
All right, Matt. Well, I noticed over on Datamation you got a new article. 12 must have Android.
Yeah, these are things that basically allow me to function throughout the day. Variety. A lot of them are work related. Some of them are just whatever. So
these are great ones.
Yeah, Waze is my boy. Yeah. I mean, I can't even function with that.
And AirDroid. I know that's one of your
AirDroid's
faves.
a big thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Got basically anything I'm using on a daily basis, and why I use them perhaps over some of the other ones, especially the weather stuff. There's
great one.
Very important things on that one. So,
nice.
Yeah.
also, let's give a shout out to a friend of yours.
Yeah, Ken Starks, who actually did a presentation at the Ohio LinuxFest, runs probably one of the most important nonprofits to the Linux community that I know of for young people and people that may not have access to technologies and computers. They're doing a fundraiser to make sure that they have funds to continue to do this for their community. And not only introduce Linux to people, but also make sure that people who don't have access to computers continue to have access to computers. So check it out, and kick down.
Yeah, this is something that's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
They take old PCs, make them work for the kids, put Linux on there. It's just super awesome.
Definitely check that out.
Ken Starks, friend of the show, go check it out. We'll have a link to the Indiegogo in the show notes.
He's a good guy.
All right, and I definitely want to encourage you to tune into Linux Unplugged next Tuesday, episode 64. Will be all about Siegel and the remainder of our Ohio Linux Fest coverage. We'll get some of the crew's take on it as well. And it should be a great episode, so tune into episode 64 of Linux Unplugged. It is definitely a great companion to the show. A lot of you out there talked to me at Ohio Linux Fest and said, "Yeah, I like Linux Unplugged because I don't feel guilty about using that as my commute show."
Totally.
Yeah.
And every once in a while I get on a rant. You can listen to that.
Yeah, if you want to hear Matt get fired up, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Also, check out Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting has lots of our pictures from Ohio Linux Fest. When we woke up in the morning, this was our view from our hotel room.
Oh my God, that's just wow. That's very vertical.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh my.
I like, and the comments too are just so brutal.
Oh yeah, they're spot on.
So there's me trying out Google Glass again. Had a chance to give it a go one more time. Pretty neat, and a lot of this is Angela's face when we thought we weren't going to make it our connecting flight, and we were going to not be able to make it home to our kids in time.
I really wish you had a video for the Noah down the railing thing though. That would have been great.
I know, right?
That'd been awesome.
Yeah. So lots of great pictures. Look at all these pictures from
tons.
Yeah, and my hair orbiting Jupiter. You can find that on the Instagram feed.
That's cool.
Look at that.
I like that. Yeah. That's actually kind of cool.
And look at this jacket swag right there.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Isn't that great? So lots of there's Ange and I on the plane right before our first flight, just hanging out.
Nice.
Waiting for it to take off. So Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Lots of really great pictures from Ohio Linux Fest on there. And thank you to everyone who came out, said hi, introduced yourselves. Everybody had a great story to share. Everybody had an anecdote. Lots of long-time and new recent listeners. So many folks said they heard about Ohio Linux Fest because of the show. That was extremely gratifying.
Right.
So it was really neat to meet all of you. Mark your calendars for Scale and, of course, Linux Fest Northwest. I think those will be the next two that we hit. And Scale is towards the end of February. To Southern California Linux Expo Scale.
Yep. Think so.
And I think we'll probably make it down to that one. I think we're going to have a pretty good time. Don't forget, the Linux Action Show is live on Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific. You can go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get that converted to your local time zone. The other perk to that is on times when we move the show, like this episode, the calendar is updated to reflect that. And you can actually just subscribe to it either via RSS or add it to your Google Calendar if you're so inclined, and then you don't have to worry about that.
It's the way to do it.
I know, right? And linuxactionshow.reddit.com is a great place to engage us and the community, submit ideas for the show, give us feedback, vote things up or down, or just comment and give us your insights on a story and what you think about something. When there's something going on, we like to know what you think because I think you usually have some pretty good ideas out there. And last but not least, we want your emails. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com, click the contact link, and choose Linux Action Show from the drop-down.
And send you all its way.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week.
Captain's log, stardate 215876. I find myself in a strange world. It's called Columbus, but there's people covered in costumes everywhere and little girls dancing.
Actually, this is a funny story.
What?
So at the same time in the convention center of Ohio Linux Fest 2014 was a little girl, like a cheerleader dance conference going on. Not like...
It wasn't like one of those little... mommy exploiting little kids things.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't one of those deals?
Yeah,
Okay.
and lots of them everywhere. And then in the evening...
Loaded up on pixie sticks and all that.
Huge ass, city frickin' wide Halloween party.
Whoa.
They closed down streets.
Wow.
They had a conference, or I mean, not conference, a concert out in there, and everybody was all dressed up. It was crazy. So, hey, listen, I got to tell you guys a little story before we get going.
Okay. Let's get this out of the way.
We got to talk about this.
Yeah, this is important stuff. And this is like life lesson-y type action.
So, you know, when you're flying out of Ohio, you kind of have to do a connecting flight.
Yeah.
There's really no way around it. And so I'm looking for a picture right here. Yeah. So we had connecting flights at Chicago O'Hare International Airport.
Right.
Which is, I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry if I offend anybody. That is a monster of an airport. It's a monster. I'm just saying, it's a monster.
Big.
And so we are leaving from Ohio, and our flight was delayed.
Oh, jeez.
And we're like, okay, well, we only had, when we landed, if everything was on schedule, we only had 40 minutes to catch our next flight.
Oh,
and
God.
At O'Hare, that's a big, that's not,
yeah.
You know, you got to, once you land, it takes about 10, 15 minutes to get off the plane. And O'Hare's big, and we landed at gate G.
Right.
But our connecting flight was at gate K8. And so that's a big range. And so we managed. We're like, okay, so the captain comes on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that our flight is delayed, and we'll be arriving about 15 to 20 minutes after our originally planned time for a touchdown.
And then he comes back on a little bit later and goes,
ladies and gentlemen, I have a revised estimate, and we will be landing approximately 25 minutes after our original intended arrival time. We apologize for any inconvenience.
And so Angela starts to go, well, wait a minute. We have 3 kids. We're already going to get home, like, late at night as it is.
Right.
We've got to, you know, plus I've got show production stuff.
Right.
But she starts getting a little worried. So she flags down the flight attendant, which this was a small plane. It was very loud, so we could barely hear it, and English wasn't his native language. But he, after a little while, he started going around and asking folks if they would mind letting us, leave first, onboard first.
Wow, okay.
And so he goes around and talks to everybody, except for he misses one gal.
Oh, no, of course.
And so as the plane lands, we get down. Everybody's in. You know, have you ever been on a plane? Everybody just kind of stands up.
Yeah, it's like being on a Greyhound. It's the same
everybody remains seating except for one person.
Oh man!
And this one, because maybe she was asleep or something, and then she kind of froze up because she didn't know what to do. Because nobody else was standing up, so she just kind of stood there in the aisle, and we were in such a panic to get to our next connecting flight that I didn't think to ask her to move. I was like, I was starting to think, maybe I'll take my bag and knock her down. And right as I'm thinking that, Angela goes, excuse me, I have a plane to catch, and I have 3 children. And so then the gal gets out of our way. We were running so hard that when we were running up the gate, I ran on the wall a little bit to get around the corner.
Oh, you were like Matrix all up.
Fast as I could run. We got our bags. I got a backpack on, and as I'm running, my shirt's getting pulled up my back the whole time because my bag is bouncing as I run, and I got everything in my pockets, and my pants are falling down.
Shit's falling over. Yeah.
And we're not just jogging. We are full on Home Alone, like in the airport, running as fast as we can with all of our crap, and weaving and dodging out of people like all over the place. And we were breathing so hard. We were I think we were like the last people. We got to the gate, and we were running so hard that we got to the point where we were like, whoever makes it, and you get there, and you hold up the door. You make a fuss so they don't close the door until the other person gets there. Just go. If you get a window, just go. Leave the other person behind. It was like a full-on, we got to get there. So we both arrive just about the same time to the gate. We're like, we walk up, we have the thing here's our pass, and we get on the plane, we sit down, and I'm now for an hour on the plane, coughing up crap from running so hard.
I bet, yeah.
And she had a shaky leg, because, we were just full-on running through the airport. And we got the connecting flight. We made the flight, so we landed at our original time in Seattle, and the rest was history. But it was crazy.
Oh my god!
For a minute, we were like, "Oh my god!"
Jeez.
Yeah. So that was.
I think it was a good plan of attack, though. Whoever gets there first.
Yeah. That was the most that was the hardest part of the travel. Otherwise, it was a pretty good trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't too bad.
Not too much to speak of. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so touch and go. When if we didn't have any kids.
Wouldn't be as big of a thing.
Then it just would have been the show that got screwed.
Right.
Which would have sucked. But it wouldn't have been
it's not children.
As bad. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The little difference there.
Oh my god.